Hello, my name is Bob Hill, and I am the president of the Church of Scientology, Mission of Riverdale at 308 Broadview Avenue in Toronto. This is our third Sunday service delivered during the coronavirus disease 19 restrictions. At this time, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we cannot have Sunday service in our church, so we are recording the service and sending it out to you. In the two previous sermons, we talked about the importance of keeping well with hand washing, social distancing, personal protective equipment, and disinfecting surfaces while keeping active with productive schedules, keeping your morale high during this time of social distancing. We talked about the importance of religion at this time and respecting the religious beliefs of others. Now today, we're going to go on from that, but we're going to start with the creed of the Church of Scientology. We of the church believe that all men of whatever race, color, or creed were created with equal rights, that all men have inalienable rights to their own religious practices and their performance, that all men have inalienable rights to their own lives, that all men have inalienable rights to their sanity, that all men have inalienable rights to their own defense, that all men have inalienable rights to conceive, choose, assist, or support their own organizations, churches, or governments, that all men have inalienable rights to think freely, to talk freely, to write freely their own opinions, and to counter or utter or write upon the opinions of others, that all men have inalienable rights to the creation of their own kind, that the souls of men have the rights of men, that the study of the mind and the healing of mentally caused ills should not be alienated from religion or condoned in non-religious fields, and that no agency less than God has the power to suspend or set aside these rights overtly or covertly. And we of the church believe that man is basically good, that he is seeking to survive, that his survival depends upon himself and upon his fellows, and his attainment of brotherhood with the universe. And we of the church believe that the laws of God forbid man to destroy his own kind, to destroy the sanity of another, to destroy or enslave another's soul, to destroy or reduce the survival of one's companions or one's group. And we of the church believe that the spirit can be saved and that the spirit alone may save or heal the body. Now, before I start today's sermon, I'm going to read you a reference called personal integrity. Now, this will apply greatly to our sermon because our sermon is going to be along the lines of looking. What is true for you is what you have observed yourself. And when you lose that, you have lost everything. What is personal integrity? Personal integrity is knowing what you know. What you know is what you know. And to have the courage to know and say what you have observed. And that is integrity. And there is no other integrity. Of course, we can talk about honor, truth, all these things, these esoteric terms. But I think they'd all be covered very well if what we really observed was what we observed. That we took care to observe what we were observing. That we always observed to observe. And not necessarily maintaining a skeptical attitude, a critical attitude, or an open mind, but certainly maintaining sufficient personal integrity and sufficient personal belief and confidence in self and courage that we can observe what we observe and say what we have observed. Nothing in Dianetics and Scientology is true for you unless you have observed it. And it is true according to your observation. That is all. So you got it? Great. Now, The topic of this Sunday service is the meaning and importance of competence and looking outward. Scientology is a practical religion, and it is for use to improve situations like the one we as society currently find ourselves in. Scientology teaches a person how to know. That's what the word means, knowing how to know. The first thing to know is the meaning of words. Understanding words makes it possible to learn and to survive. I'm going to use a book written by L. Ron Hubbard to give you some practical advice that you can use. The book is called The Way to Happiness, a common sense guide to better living, written in 1982. This is the book right here. Now, in chapter 17 of The Way to Happiness, we are encouraged to be competent and look. Competence is defined as the ability to do well those things one does, being capable, skilled in doing what one does, measuring up to the demands on one's activities. Now, some examples of this would be an astronaut, for example. He gets in a spaceship and he flies out into outer space. He's very competent at what he does when he's flying the spaceship. You have a bus driver who never gets in an accident, works for the bus company for 40 years and retires and has a perfect record. He's very competent. So those are just a couple of examples of competence. In The Way to Happiness, chapter 17, L. Ron Hubbard says, encourage the attainment of competence in any worthwhile pursuit. Compliment it and reward it whenever you find it. Demand high performance standards. The test of a society is whether or not you, your family, and friends can live in it safely. The ingredients of competence include observation, study, and practice. Today, we are exploring the importance of observation, or the ability to look. We are dependent upon our doctors, nurses, and governors to be competent at this time, and we have responsibility as well to be competent. Ron Hubbard goes on to say, see what you see, not what someone tells you you see. What you observe is what you observe. Look at things and life and others directly, not through a cloud of prejudice, curtain of fear, or the interpretation of another. Prejudice is an opinion you form before seeing something that is not based on actual experience or correct reasoning. Instead of arguing with others, get them to look. The most flagrant, observable in a shocking way, lies can be punctured. The greatest pretenses can be exposed. The most intricate puzzles can resolve. The most remarkable revelations can occur simply by gently insisting that someone look. This is also good advice in relationships, as we are spending a lot of time indoors with families where you can gently get each others to look at things instead of arguing. Now, an example of it could be a husband and wife. They've been in the house together now for 2 months, 3 months. They get tired of cooking meals. And instead of having them argue about the meals, the best thing to do might be to say, well, look, maybe what we could look at is I could use these spices on one meal, and maybe you could have a look at trying this other thing, or something of that nature. And you might find that the argument would resolve. When another finds things almost too confusing and difficult to bear, when his or her wits, his mind or his power of reasoning or thinking are going round and round, get the person to just stand back and look. True competence is based on one's ability to observe. With that as reality, only then can one be deft, skillful, and quick in one's movements, or demonstrating skill and cleverness, and sure meaning certain, without doubt about oneself. So how does this relate to our times? We have lots of data pouring in on the media, and it can be confusing and frightening and make a person look inward. Some people in our society are looking towards drugs and alcohol to access for relief, and only finding more pain and more confusion and more introversion. Drugs and alcohol can hinder the ability to look outward. So the advice here is to improve and practice looking outward, not inward. Introversion means looking inward. An example would be, oh my God, I just heard that thing on the news, and I'm terrified that somebody's going to come banging and knock down my door and take me away. Extroversion means looking outward. An example of that would be, well, I heard this stuff on the news, so I went for a walk and I looked at things and they became really real to me, and I felt 100% better, and suddenly it didn't seem like a dangerous environment. With what is going on our planet, we want to encourage people to look outward. I'm going to give you some simple techniques to help with extroversion. These techniques come from a book called The Volunteer Minister's Handbook, and it's based on the works of L. Ron Hubbard, Chapter 12, Solutions for a Dangerous Environment. There is a simple procedure that can help. Now, I'll get a copy of that book for you later, but you can contact the mission here in Riverdale and we can get you a copy of the book, Handling the Dangerous Environment. So one of the things you can do is take a walk and look at things. It's very important to look at things. You can walk and worry, which is introversion, and think about all the confusion, and that is not looking at things. Try this yourself and continue until you feel some relief. In other words, go for a walk, look at things. Don't go for a walk and think about the argument you just had with your wife or your friend about something, or you're thinking about all the terrible things that are going on, but actually look at things and look outward. I myself take walks every day. I take a look around me and I feel pretty good when I come back, and my attention is outward. Another one that you can use, which is from that book I mentioned, is find something that isn't being a threat. This can be done by you on another person. So when a person gets too upset or confused, one can have him look around his environment and find something that isn't being a threat to him. And you carry on doing this until the person is very happy or relieved and has had a realization about himself, the environment, or life in general. Now you can also use this technique directly on yourself. For example, an individual can be in his room or in his house and very worried about something. An example of that something could be the coronavirus. He may be sitting at his table or his desk with papers piling up. Everything seems to be in a high uproar, confusion, disorder, disturbance, and he feels completely overwhelmed. He's defeated. There's just too much happening. The person should be able to look at the things on his table or listen, and which is the source of the threat, and find something about them that is not a threat. So by making such a discovery, the threat will balance out. It'll be less extreme and not as confusing. Now you could do that, like let's say you hear some threat about the coronavirus or something that's going on in the environment, and then you could find something about it that's not a threat. For example, well, there are millions of people working away right now trying to figure out how to resolve it. Or there's really well-intentioned people that are coming up with solutions to it, and that will come out. So you're finding something about it that's not a threat. So therefore, it becomes less threatening. You feel more in control and you don't feel overwhelmed. Okay? So try those simple things. Again, that came from the Volunteer Minister's Handbook, Handling the Dangerous Environment. And you can get a copy of that and by contacting the mission, and we'll have you look at it. Now I'm going to end here, and I'm going to end with the prayer for total freedom. This is written by L. Ron Hubbard. May the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. May awareness and understanding of life expand so that all may come to know the author of the universe, and may others also reach this understanding, which brings total freedom. At this time, we think of those whose liberty is threatened, of those who have suffered imprisonment for their beliefs, of those who are enslaved or martyred, and for all those who are brutalized, trapped, or attacked. We pray that human rights will be preserved, so that all people may believe and worship freely, so that freedom will once again be seen in our land. Freedom from war and poverty and want, freedom to be, freedom to do, and freedom to have. Freedom to use and understand man's potential, a potential that is God-given and God-like, and freedom to achieve that understanding and awareness that is total freedom. May God let it be so. Now you can get a copy of the booklet, The Way to Happiness, which I showed you. It's a common sense guide to better living, and you can get a copy of the Scientology Handbook by simply calling 416-792-1889, and we also have free booklets that we will give out to you on how to stay well and take care of yourself. In summary, keep yourself well and safe. Look outward as much as possible. Continue to cooperate with the federal, provincial, and municipal handlings for COVID-19 while you stay productive and improve your relationships with others. Be competent, really look and improve your skills at this time. Plan for and make your future. In Canada, we have freedom of speech, so communicate to each other and your members of parliament, federal, provincial, and city governments. Tell them what you like and what you want to improve. Encourage competence in others. Join us next Sunday for more spiritual techniques to help you improve and handle your lives in this extraordinary and challenging time. Thank you.